Good evening, everyone. We are so excited and thankful to have you join us for tonight's Winter Writers Showcase. Author Vernon Blake once said, "Home is where the heart can laugh without shyness. Home is where the heart's tears can dry at their own pace." So if you're a creative or a friend of a creative, we sincerely hope that KMP Entertainment and our projects are home to you. And again, I just want to welcome you enthusiastically to tonight's showcase. And I'm Michelle Murray, COO of KMP Entertainment, and I will be your host. My son Kendall and I have worked tirelessly to ensure that KMP Entertainment is a one-stop shop of sorts for those in the business of entertaining others. Just before the pandemic hit, one of the divisions that we launched was an all-encompassing division for writers. So whether it's publishing, representation, professional development, education, or even other resources, we ensure that writers are equipped and capable of making a living doing what they love. So as a screenwriter and novelist myself, I can absolutely appreciate the nuances of the business side of things, at the same time while wanting to still have that warm, fuzzy feeling that you have found your place. So tonight's showcase is all about helping a collection of writers find their place, which includes access to opportunity and, again, resources. They are all wonderfully talented in their own right, and I have no doubt that you will absolutely enjoy their tales just as much as I did. Now, don't forget to vote for your favorite writer tonight, and you do that in the comments. Simply post their name or hashtag their name in the comments. That's all you have to do. And the cool part is that you can vote up to 3 times this way. So you can give your favorite author 3 votes. Or if you want to spread it out amongst 3 people, that's fine too. But each person can vote 3 times and have it counted. And at the end, we'll tally all the votes and we'll announce the winner at noon Pacific Standard Time tomorrow morning, right here on the KMP Entertainment Facebook page. So check it out tomorrow and find out who won. So sit back, prepare to be whisked away into faraway places that only these writers could take you.
Howdy, I'm Mark Brassage. Normally out of southern Utah, currently in Connecticut, visiting my granddaughter. I'm going to keep this kind of short because I went a little long on my reading. So basically I'm a retired Air Force, a helicopter pilot, retired wilderness outfitter, and retired rancher out of Colorado. And I'm currently working on Life Part 5 or 6, something like that, as a writer, actor, and filmmaker. If you get the notion, you can find me on Facebook and then reach all of my artistic and creative links through there. Take care.
Hi everyone, my name is Javier Simons and I am coming to you from Austin, Texas. I am here to read you an excerpt of my script that I have been working on for the past 10 weeks. Sorry, I have an accent. And the story is about, let me tell you a little bit about it. I'm not gonna go into log lines or premises or anything, but it's about the LGBTQ plus community. It's about a drag queen that has dreams of becoming a famous comedian, but then on the journey to do that, she realizes that she has a much more bigger social calling, and she needs to make sure that, you know, she does right for other people. And during her journey, she discovers some of her fellow characters have a past that is completely unknown to her. One of them is a transgender man that turns out to be kind of like the person that takes in and takes care of all the kids in the town. And it's about the journey. It's about self-discovery. It's told in a very kind of hilarious joke, but there's a lot of political punches in there. And my story is for sale. If you like what you hear, we'll be finishing up and it will be for sale via KMP Entertainment because they're the ones giving me the opportunity. So I would love to offer this story up for sale via them. So a little bit about me. I am originally born in Philadelphia, in Pennsylvania. Moved to Panama City in the Republic of Panama, military kid, through the armed forces when we were down there taking care of the canal. And then I moved to San Antonio, Texas, at the age of 23. And right now I am living in Austin, Texas. I have a small, tiny boutique agency which handles touring for musicians, drag artists, and DJs. So that's my passion. My passion has always been music. How did I end up being a storyteller? Funny story. Ask Michelle Murray. I signed up for her class through networking, through Full Sail. I loved her approach. I love how when I started asking about the courses, she was so proactive, and she granted me a scholarship, which for somebody to give something for free with somebody they don't know and taking a chance, it's like, well, that's crazy. And I remember my first assignment was, what are you doing here? And I said, I'm not even a writer. I don't even know why I'm here. Well, 10 weeks later, I think I'm a pretty passionate writer. I don't think I'm a professional writer, but I have found a passion for it, and I think I know that I'm quite enjoying it very, very much. So my story is based on different elements, different experiences that I have lived myself or have seen other people live, and it's a little bit of it's an eclectic blend of experiences and situations that you don't have to be a member of the community to understand that social justice is social justice. Wanting to be better is wanting to be better. And standing up for what you believe in is standing up for what you believe in. It doesn't matter who you sleep with, where you live, what you wear. It doesn't matter. But by the way, my nails are stunning, aren't they?
Good evening. My name is Penny Finch, and I'm joining you from the southeastern United States this evening. I'm here to share an excerpt from my autobiography. While I'm a fledgling professional author, I've always been a writer at heart. I chose to share this story, my story, to motivate, help, and heal so many who may not have found their voice yet. I was just 14 years old when my older sister's boyfriend gave me the nickname Sid, short for acid or LSD, because, well, I loved it. I mean, I really loved it. It was wonderful to go into a colorful and happy world where my appearance didn't matter, where my parents weren't fighting, where my sister hadn't just called the police claiming that my dad molested her, or my brother hadn't just brought my mom to the ground in a chokehold. I loved acid. It took me a place where no one else would or wanted to take me, somewhere I felt safe and loved. So Sid was born, and I shed the cloak of caretaker that I'd been wearing for the past several years. Since my parents divorced, my mother moved us across the country. Both my mother and father figures disappeared into the abyss, only to resurface when it was convenient for them to use us as pawns to hurt each other. I was sick to death of making dinner for all four of us kids out of the nothing that my mother left in the pantry. And my father always said that she took him for millions. Well, my mother's older sister was constantly bailing us out, and she served as more of an authority figure than both of my parents combined. I outwardly bemoaned when we knew she was coming for dinner or when we were going to stay with her for the weekend, but secretly, I craved the structure and the normalcy of it all. This is not just Sid's story, though. It's that of a young woman coming into and subsequently falling out of her own. I was lying in bed yesterday morning with my husband, and yet another incredibly unfortunate situation reared its ugly head up our asses, and I muttered something like I should just write that darn book that everyone's been after me about, and I just don't know where to begin. And he said, right now. Well, right now, an overweight, unhappy, exhausted, middle-aged wife, mother, dental professional, business owner, advocate, ex-wife, former homeless person, stepmother, former drug addict, former thief, community volunteer, parent of a transgender kid, victim, fighter, teacher, an absolute disaster of a human being are all sitting before you tonight. Some days I feel like Supermom for just picking up the kids and going grocery shopping without imploding. And still others, I rock out $2,000 in production at work, go home, play a game with the kids, cook dinner, do the dishes and the laundry while waiting for my husband to come home from school, and I don't even stress about it. This story is bizarre. I feel like 27 different people, each with hundreds of different stories to tell from as many different perspectives. That's it. Perspective. That's the one thing this journey has given me that no one can ever take away from me. From outrunning the police in a high-speed chase, to leading transgender youth advocacy meetings, to baking my signature toffee bars every Christmas, I can see the world through the eyes of a thrown-away, drug-addicted, petty thief, and a respected academic. An exhausted mom on her knees at 2 a.m. begging her babies to sleep, and an inmate. A medical professional holding multiple licenses, and a former drug addict. A devoted wife, and a former escort. I'm the one holding your hand as you shake when you come sit in my dental chair. I'm scooping up the neighbor's kid and kissing his boo-boo when they stepped away. I'm up at 2 a.m. researching how to support my transgender child. I'm the one who still makes homemade Christmas gifts for my kids' teachers. I'm also the one speeding past you on the highway, smoking a cigarette and blasting Jane's Addiction. I'm a professional, a friend, a fiend, a wife, and a mother. I really wish that everyone could see things through the same lens that I do. I think the world will be a much different place, and that's why I'm here with you tonight.
I'm Emily. I'm from Texas. I love to draw, watch anime, play video games, and D&D. I think those are the things that mainly inspired me to become a story writer. And I just really hope you like this, because I really put some effort into it, because it's about one of my characters that I made who doesn't have an arm and is looking for her real family with her new companion that she found on the way. Well, or like it found her. And thank you. If you want to reach me, go to KMP Entertainment. Thank you. I hope you enjoy.
Hi everyone, my name is Melanie Seifert and I'm a writer. I've been writing since I was 9 years old because I was not really allowed to express my emotions and feelings out loud, so I chose writing as a form of outlet for me. I've been doing that ever since then, in one form or another, creative writing, poetry, then of course I branched into writing plays, and now I am proud to be a part of Miss Michelle Murray's master writing class, which I am ecstatic about. It challenges me, I can't even lie, but it has been a journey. And my personal information is melanieseifert@gmail.com. Thanks.
Hello, my name is Mia Vasquez. I currently live in Sierra Vista, Arizona. I used to do a lot of writing in middle school and high school. I never knew that I would take a love for it professionally, and now recently I have, and I've been taking classes to improve my writing to do so. My story, Forgotten Babylon, is about Babylonian mythology mixed with Sumerian and Celtic. You currently cannot buy this book anywhere, but it will be on the market in the future because it still is within the editing process. If you'd like to follow my work, you can follow me on Instagram, Foxy Diana Adventures, which will allow you updates. Or you can follow me on Facebook at Foxy Diana Ray Cosplay and Performance.
Hi, my name is Brooke Green, and I stay in the Midwest, in Ohio, Akron to be exact. And being a storyteller, I've always told stories. Like, who hasn't told stories when they were a kid? I never actually thought I could write a full story, but I surprised myself. And when I wrote this script, I I enjoy telling stories. I don't enjoy lying, which could be possibly storytelling, but telling a full-length story from beginning, middle to end, catch somebody's attention. Love that. I love to keep people on the edge to say, what's next? The story that I'm going to read an excerpt from, it's pretty much about a girl who is brand new to teaching, and she becomes the teacher the second week of school because the previous teacher died. And her first day in the classroom, the ghost of the teacher that died just shows up. And the whole premise of the story is about the ghost trying to help the new teacher where she does not want to help. It's an unexpected assistant, hence the name Silent Assistant. The story is for sale, and I can just give you my email, which is brookgreen39@gmail.com. If anybody's interested in the project. Also, you can hit me on my Instagram, which is Brooke Nicole Productions, all one word, BROOKE Productions.
As Melissa was walking along, she couldn't help but hear her father's final words replay in her head. I am not your real father. Your real father was a wood elf named Alexander. Your mother, Yobelia, was from a dwarf tribe. She gave you to me because she knew her tribe would never accept you. Go, find your father, and follow your true destiny. Here, take this for your protection, he said as he handed her his large war hammer before he passed on. She was infuriated with the man she once called father. How could he have kept this secret from her for the last 17 years? How could he lie to her for years? Whenever she asked him about their differences, he merely dismissed them with a shrug, even when she pointed out she had dark brown hair while his was so blonde, almost white. Her eyes were deep, dark blue, while his were gray. She noticed that despite being slender, she was as strong, if not stronger, than him, despite being born with only one arm. While being distracted with her thoughts, Melissa didn't notice that the rain had joined her tears on her face. So lost was she in her anguish that she wasn't watching where she was walking, and she lost her footing and fell down on the side of a hill. Just as she was about to collide with a gigantic boulder, something grabbed her by the hood of her cloak, choking her. She would have normally been upset by such an action, but seeing as it just saved her life, she was inclined to let it go. Melissa turned to see what had saved her, and she came face to face with a large gray wolf with the deepest yellow eyes she had ever seen. She felt as though the eyes could see straight into her soul if she wasn't careful. As Melissa stared in wonder, the wolf changed into a young lady being no more than 20 years old. The gray fur changed into the silkiest of hair, but falling only to her shoulders, and unable to hide the fact that she still had wolf ears. The long gray snout smoothed into a beautiful olive complexion. Melissa noticed that the body had shrunk down and was covered in badly tattered clothing. In slow motion, Melissa watched as the wolf lady reached out with a small, elegant hand to touch her shoulder. "Are you okay?" said a soft, silky voice. Yes, I am, stuttered Melissa. Who are you? She asked in wonderment. My name is Rose. I'm a druid. What are you doing in my forest?
Howdy, my name is Mark Brassich, and today I'm going to read you a little creative nonfiction piece I wrote a couple years ago. It's called Horse Cusser. I'm no horse whisperer. I am actually more of a rather prolific horse cusser. I often tell people who ride with me the only two reasons I give names of these knuckleheads is for reference, and so that you know whether or not my cussing is directed at you. Over the years, I've learned to keep my horse cussing calm, quiet, and devoid of any physical manifestation. Another indication that my cussing is probably not directed at you. Not because of any long-term emotional impact on the horse, but because I hate wearing casts, bandages, and duct tape. And yes, there are stories associated with each one of those for another time. I've become an advocate of natural horsemanship, choosing to work with the horse instead of against it. I've only been to one clinic on the subject, but it was a good one of Ray Hunt's last before he died. What I observed, more than any specific philosophy or technique, was Mr. Hunt's not so subtle disdain for those who thought of their horses as pets, that just want to please their owner or their rider. No, they don't. I've spent a few years as a wilderness outfitter. We had as many as 45 horses at one time. Growing up in the city of Gary, Indiana, which came in dead last as the cowboy capital of the world, I knew nothing of horses before I dove into this way of life. So I had to learn quite a bit in a very short time. When something bad happened, which early on was sort of often, I always did an ex post facto forensic process analysis, which invariably began with me saying, with various degrees of excitement, exasperation, or remaining consciousness, "What the hell?" or some more colorful version thereof. Due to poor planning or unreliable employees, two closely related topics, I've led strings of as many as 10 horses through all kinds of terrain and weather. I've ridden horses that weren't, despite my expert employees' assertion to the contrary, ready for the task at hand. I've seen good horses behave badly, and bad horses perform admirably. I was compelled to discover why. My life quite literally depended on it. In my admittedly limited mission-specific experience, through a lot of observation, study, and practical gotta-get-it-done experiences, I've found horses to be motivated by 5 primordial instincts. Number 1, eating. 2, drinking. 3, procreating. 4, eliminating waste. And 5, running away. With rare exception, you may find a horse that seems to want to please you, or that seems happy to see you. Probably not, really. That horse is simply a bit smarter than average and sees you as a means to exercise one of those 5 urges above. Perhaps you're the key that opens the stall door to the pasture. In all too many cases, you are the provider of goodies and can't figure out why the horse is always a little bit pushy and nibbling at your pockets. Well, number 1. Eaten. Horses are prey animals. In other words, they have a long history of being food, and they know it. They actually have a specific scientific thingy in their DNA that says, "I am food, be spooky, run away." Really, look it up. And that has more to do with their behavior than anything else. Horses respond to pressure, or the impending threat of pressure. Whether that pressure is a trailer door slamming right behind them, or an ever so slight skillful tug on the reins, the horse's overriding objective, after careful considered thought, is always, how do I make this stop, or how do I get away from it? The horse does not want to please you. It wants to, well, number 1 through 5. My favorite horse, Two Socks, with whom I've gone through some of my greatest adventures, is a stoic SOB. In fact, if I suddenly died while riding him, His main motivation while doing number 1 and number 2, eating and drinking, and thinking about number 3, procreating, and looking for an opportunity to number 5, run away, would, regarding the now dead weight on his back, be number 4, eliminating waste. We sold our outfitting business a few years ago, but still have 22 horses at various stages of development and temperament. That's 22 random daily character-driven opportunities for learning, or disaster, depending on your perspective and penchant for pain. I'm sure I will continue to learn, but I'll do my best to always make new mistakes. Thanks for listening.
Hi, I'm Susanna Levique, and welcome to my classroom. I am a high school English teacher, and I love stories. I love reading them and talking about them with my students and really digging deep and analyzing them. And so I do love teaching high school English, sharing these things with teens, but maybe not so much grading their essays. That's okay, we'll keep that between us. Before I was a teacher, which has really only been a couple of years, I was in the Army, I was an air traffic controller, I've been in marketing, I've done a lot of different things. But I have always loved writing. I love writing most. I didn't really think I could have a career writing, although that's kind of what I would like to do now. And so I wrote and published my first book this year, Daunted No More, and it's told from 3 different perspectives, 3 different generations of women. We'll call them women, even though the youngest turns 13 in the book. She's a young woman. And I'm going to read a little piece to you from the perspective of Bethany. She carries the most pages in the story and is the main character. Her husband is currently deployed. He's an Army soldier, and so she is in a video chat with him at this point in the story. At home, Bethany sat at the desk in her room video chatting with Carlos. He'd been sweet from the start. He smiled and leaned close to the camera. "You're so beautiful." His clear eyes seemed to overflow with affection, and she felt a blush creep into her cheeks. "Thanks. I didn't know I'd miss you as much as I have." Bethany's mind raced over all the sneaky things she'd been doing since he left, and she felt the color in her face deepen. A lump formed in her throat. "I know you've missed me too. You don't have to say it. I can see it in your eyes." His lips turned up in a tranquil smile. "Always so sweet, loving. It's why I fell in love with you so fast." He chuckled. "No, I didn't stand a chance against those innocent eyes, delicate face. Can't wait to get home to you." Bethany swallowed hard. She was evil, pure evil. No one would ever love her as much as Carlos did. But he could get so mean and scary. Yeah, but he loved her. She didn't doubt that. Wasn't love enough? It was in the movies, but this wasn't a movie. This was her life. She blinked and a tear escaped, rolling down her cheek. "Aw, baby girl, don't cry. We'll be together soon. See, I knew you wanted me to come home early. You need me. A love like ours just shouldn't be apart like this." He propped his chin on his folded hands and gazed into the camera. More tears spilled. She did love him. This version. Love wasn't the issue. This was the man she'd married. Would he ever come back to stay? She wanted to tell him everything, explain why. She never wanted to hurt him. But Victor had been adamant, don't tell Carlos anything. Victor was sure that Carlos would send someone to stop her if he knew. Victor said he would tell Carlos once the plane landed, before coming home to an empty house. Carlos leaned back with a smile. "Are you going to have the girls make a big welcome home banner for me, hang outside when I get home? Knowing you, it's going to be amazing." The image he described was so far from what he was in store for, Bethany's stomach turned. She had to tell him. She couldn't let him think he was coming home to a happy family eager to see him. She opened her mouth, but he didn't seem to notice. "Make sure Kenny's with you." One dark eyebrow arched high and seemed to pull a small sneer from his lip on that side. It was gone as fast as it had shown up. "I know that kid might not agree, but I've only ever tried to prepare him for the real world. It's tough out here. One day, he'll appreciate all I've done." Bethany nodded. Her confession died before it left her lips. Okay, honey. He smiled. Better have the girls start working on that banner soon. It's a big project. Yes, it's a big project. He leaned to one side, reaching for something. When he straightened, he held a pack of cigarettes and pulled one from the carton. I can't wait to see how it turns out. Going to smoke. Love you. He blew her a kiss before the chat screen went black. The book is available on Amazon.com and other online stores, but you can find it on Amazon. And you can keep up with me on SR Levique on Facebook or dauntednomore.com. Bye. Thanks for listening.
Hello, I'm Manny Martinez Jr. from El Paso, Texas. I'll be reading you a few excerpts from my first book, The Path of Everyone. I began writing this in high school, and I didn't finish until about 20 years later. This first poem is called No Longer. I need the wrath inside no more, now time to lay it to rest. Flames darken my heart within, demons lash out of my chest. My body wishes to see no more, tears burn through my eyes. The endless pit I find myself in has soul yearning for my demise. Moments of grace no longer here, day by day struggle to survive. Walking down an endless road, uncertain if dead or alive. I can live like this no longer. Hatred has buried my heart. Forcing the worst upon myself, the time comes for me to depart. No longer do I wish to feel the flame, so I become what I hate most. And now that a darkness engulfs the skies, I am no more than a ghost. The second one, I don't remember exactly what period I wrote this, but this is one of my favorites that I've ever written. It's called Moonlight Creek. He plays upon the moonlight creek, as pure as one's eye. A mirror image he tries to seek, though days keep sailing by. To hold the gold he has to try, but unable to understand. Throughout the time he'll sit and cry, no one to hold his hand. Now all alone he must stand and watch the others play, to find himself a way to land through another cold day. Heart fights fierce, trying not to stray. The tears fall down his cheek. No more words are left to say upon the moonlight creek. It wasn't until I had my first son about almost 4 years ago that I opened my eyes to writing children's books. And so I started writing him little stories, and I wanted to get them published so he could keep them for the rest of his life and maybe share with his own kids. This is the first one I wrote. It's called Good Night, My Love, Good Night. A kiss before you go to bed. The time has come to rest your head. We'll meet another day and hours. It might be sunny, there may be showers. But one thing that I know is true. Mommy and Daddy will always love you. And so with one last hug so tight, I say good night, my love, good night. Now the second book I wrote at the beginning of this year, it was a way of trying to get through the times. Everyone was facing, a loss of a loved one, and God forbid you ever have to leave your child behind. So I wrote this for my own son, just in case anything should ever happen to me. But mostly because I love him and I always want him to know exactly how I feel about him. It's entitled, I Loved You Before You Were Born. If I should ever fade away, you can't seem to find my face. Just know right from the very first day, in my heart you had your place. I've seen you in my dreams before, that precious little smile. Those gorgeous eyes, how I adore. I'm so lucky you're my child. I'm thankful for all of our time. Happiness pours out of my eyes. I thank God you were always mine. Your love was my greatest surprise. I'll always be watching over you, to keep you safe from harm. And always know this much is true. I loved you before you were born. Thank you for letting me be a part of the Winter's Writers Showcase. I hope to get your vote.
Good evening. My name is Penny Finch, and tonight I'll be sharing with you an excerpt from my autobiography, a portion of Chapter 1 that I've chosen for you. It will be available for sale, and I am looking for representation. So, we'll begin. If you are alone, homeless, hopping from one hotel to another, carrying whatever worldly possessions you have left after anything of value is sold or exchanged for cocaine and pills, all the while running from the police, and your drug-addled sister and her boyfriend asked to spend the night, you probably would have said yes too. I was desperately lonely. My boyfriend had just left me because of my drug habit and flat-out refusal to accept any sane or rational ideology. I mean, he really tried. And my sister and her boyfriend had just been kicked out of my mom's condo. And it was pouring, and they didn't even have a car. She called and asked if I could pick them both up, and without a thought, I went to bring them back to my crappy, albeit dry and somewhat comfortable, motel room. I wasn't in the mood to party, even though they brought supplies aplenty. I was really upset about Jeff leaving, and their silly antics didn't engage me. Oddly enough, the drugs they offered didn't either. I was just annoyed, and I rolled over and I went to sleep shortly after I brought them back. Maybe if I hadn't, he'd still be alive. I woke up the next morning, and like any good drug addict, I began to search to see if they had any leftovers from the night before. I had to be quick and quiet. Drug addicts are really good at keeping tabs on their stashes. I found a small bottle of pills and then glanced over at the bed to make sure they were still sleeping. I wanted to continue my search for bigger and better things, but I saw that Scott's eyes were wide open. I was certain that I was busted, but then I realized he wasn't moving. That's when it hit me. He was clearly dead. All of a sudden I couldn't breathe, but somehow I took a step towards the bed. He was gray and motionless. I grabbed at my sister's leg. She sprang up, and all I remember is her screaming, "Scott, this isn't funny," over and over and over again. I somehow got him to the floor and started CPR. I told her to call 911, and she did, but she threw the phone and started gathering and hiding all their drug paraphernalia while the 911 operator tried to talk me through one-man CPR, which is not easy stuff, but it was fruitless. He was gone. Everything got quiet, despite the fact that first responders were running in and out of the room, visibly shouting. It was all echoing and hollow. All I could think of was that scene from Fight Club. Have you ever heard a death rattle? Yes, I have. I was the only member of my family allowed at his funeral, if that tells you anything. This man had been a large yet controversial part of our family's life for more than 2 decades, and now he was dead, and all I was left with were maybes. How does one get from here to there? From sobbing over the body of a man who just overdosed in a cheap motel room, in my cheap motel room, to a credentialed healthcare provider, a devoted wife, mother of 3, outspoken advocate and activist. A lot more maybes. That's how. But of course, it wasn't always this way. This was just my breaking point, and boy, did I break. But I intend to honor the survivor in these stories and build her back up. That's why I'm here with you tonight. Thank you.
In Eden, the Fae played day and night and were marvelous and happy. The Fae were gifts to the goddess Eurus. The goddess decided that some of the Faes would live in Eden. The rest of the Faes would be raised, knowing that they would be given a task on Earth one day, when Eurus and Anu willed it. This is what they lived for. Arwen is the youngest of the Fae, who came from Eden. Her skin was pale, her lips deep red like roses, her hair dropped to the floor, her voice was calming. She was from the forgotten race, only known to the gods. Her hair stood out because it was a light purple, while her eyes a beautiful ocean blue. Arwen was Anu's most beloved creation and treasured gift that he had given especially to his wife. Anu had no intention of ever sending Arwen to the land of man. he would have had Arwen stay among the flowers that bloom gorgeous with the grass lit upon the lake, for she was his most protected and most pure creation. Arwen would dance with the fae and play with the birds and name them all. She was especially drawn to the tiny ones, with their white feathers and teal bodies. The little bird's wings would flap quickly and take the nectar from the flowers. Arwen and the other fae would lace their hair with orange, red, white, and pink flowers. It would appear as if they had a crown above their heads. "Are the fae not lovely, my beloved?" Uranus said. Uranus placed her hand on Anu's shoulder and smiled in a loving manner at the fae and him. "Yes, they are, my sweet queen. If only our daughter could see the fae as they grow," Anu said, and glanced at Uranus. "I miss her too, but at least the smallest fae keeps us company, and should a tear ever fall from my eyes, or if that smile you wear were to die from it, once radiant light surface, Arwen tries her best to make us filled with light again," Uranus said, as she placed her hand on the king's chin and kissed him upon his lips, as his beard tickled her face slightly. The goddess's hair was a deep green, with red highlights. Once they placed their hands together and bent their arms as they pulled away from each other's embrace. Little Arwen ran up to the two with little giggles and pulled on both of them. "Can you play with us today?" Arwen asked in the sweetest, most high-pitched voice. The two gods had warmth in their face, thinking they missed their blood daughter. This little fae always seemed to bring them so much bliss despite that. And unlike the other fae, she dared not act without an order, for she was free and very loyal to no end. Anu, however, would have to make a very difficult choice, because his goddess, the daughter, had returned to Eden and told her father of what she had done on earth. She told Anu that she had a son and named him Gilmos. She begged Anu to let the tiny boy stay in Eden rather than the world of man. Anu refused despite the tears of Nisan, because the laws the gods had decided on. "Nisan, you know no one with human blood can enter Eden. After what a man did so long ago with the tree, my mercy to my mortal grandson is he shall be given the strength that normal man and much longer life. He shall not live forever as us gods. It would be wrong for me to favor one demigod over all the others, even if he is my grandson," Anu said, with gloomy eyes, and his body turned downward, with imperfect posture. "Father, you have to let the little baby fae have value, but not your own grandson. I do recall what first man did to the tree." The goddess stepped back. She was uncertain whether to cry or have angry or jealousy.
So again, I'm Michelle Murray, COO of KMP Entertainment. I'm not going to bore you with my bio. If you're curious, you can sneak a peek at it on our website, kmpentertainment.org. So I thought I'd share a snippet of my soon-to-be released novel, Debbie, the Berg. Now, this story is part of a series which includes some pretty resilient female protagonists, and they endear you as you tag along on their journeys to Hades and back. Though fictional, each character has a little bit of me within her soul. I think that's what makes these ladies relatable, not just to women, but to anyone who's ever had to overcome adversity. So Debbie, the main character of this book, The Berg, she's a retired soldier, and she crosses paths with one of her former charges. But little does she know, she's in for the ride of her life. "So it's good to see you, Fainley," Debbie noted as she wriggled away from his grasp. Oh, I don't go by that anymore. Fletcher either. It's Orlando now. Orlando Beach. Oh, okay, Orlando. Well, come on in and have a seat on the sofa. Can I get you anything to drink? Iced tea, or water? Gin and tonic if you have it. I don't. I have iced tea or water. Don't worry, I have my own. And he pulled a flask out of his back pocket as he shuffled to the sofa and kicked his shoes off. He then fished a highball glass out of his jacket pocket. Debbie hardly noticed as she was distracted by his mismatched socks and the little lights on them. Sergeant, you want some? Debbie paused for a moment and examined Fletcher from head to toe. She searched for signs of the kid she once knew. They weren't there. This person was a middle-aged man with long salt and pepper hair pulled into a samurai-styled bun atop his head and a belly which befitted Santa Claus. His outstretched hand sported fingernails that were far too long, but beautifully manicured. His beard was also well manicured. He smelled of fruit and jasmine. No, Fletcher, I'm good, Debbie declared as she sat in an armchair across from him. Orlando Beach, aren't? Yes, I'm sorry. How did you come to select that name, if you don't mind me asking? Well, you remember my wife from back in the day, right? Oh, how could Debbie forget? Well, I ditched her at a beach smack dab in the middle of Orlando, Florida. I had her sign the divorce papers right there. So I love that beach. That's where I gained my freedom. Seemed only right to include that in my new persona. I couldn't remember the name of it, so I just used Orlando Beach. Debbie chewed on this for a moment. There were no beaches in the middle of Orlando, Florida. She thought to throw out names: Cocoa Beach, Vero Beach, Daytona. Then she decided against it. It wouldn't change his mind. He'd still be Mr. Orlando Beach. The rationale made her chuckle. Oh, I see. Well, that's an interesting name. So you're a musician, so I guess I don't see how that could hurt you. Respect! Orlando shouted with enthusiasm, scaring Debbie just a little bit, and then he took a long swig of whatever liquid his flask contained. Debbie wasn't sure if she should continue to be frightened or start to feel a little bit amused. She chose the latter before she spoke again. Well, I listened to the music you sent me. Now, as an agent, if I'm going to represent you, I have to ask a few questions. Do you write your own material or just perform it? And who plays the instruments? I do every single bit of it myself. I have to record it all separately and then mix and master it into one cohesive piece. Oh, wow, that's impressive. Definitely not the norm. That will certainly make you more marketable. You sound like Gabler. Remember him? Gabler. Of course I do. He was the only one who didn't lose my paperwork over in the office. It got to the point if I needed a personnel action when I was in the Army, I'd only give him my documents. He used to manage me for a while. He owned a record label here, but I don't know, something happened and he moved. We still keep in touch. You should give him a holler and say, "What's up?" I'm sure he'd love to hear from you. Is he on social media? I'll look him up and say hi. I haven't thought about him in years. Good to see he's doing well since the Army. But let's focus on you today, though, okay? Oh, yeah. That's what's up. Just tell me what I need to do, and let's get cracking. Well, first, I'm going to need you to sign some paperwork allowing me to represent you, okay? So give me your email, and I'll send the paperwork so that you can look it over in the morning, okay? I always tell people to look it over with an attorney. If you deem it a good fit, then I'll need you to sign it and return it to me, along with your EPK, 3 mastered songs, lyric sheets, and proof of ownership. After that, I'll start pitching you. Sounds good, but I want to sign it right now. You got a printer? Well, yes, I have a printer. Debbie started passively correcting his grammar. I just don't use a generic contract, though. I personalize it to each client. I have to draw up the paperwork first and then send it to you, okay? I'll wait, Orlando declared as he pulled a bag of broken pretzels out of his jacket pocket and offered a few to Debbie. She didn't want any. She wasn't even sure she wanted to deal with this guy. Her facial expression said as much. So, if you want to find out more, it'll be available this Christmas via online retailers everywhere.
Hello, I'm Mark Pumphrey. I'm from El Paso, Texas. I was a professional librarian for 40 years, my last job being director of the El Paso Public Library. I retired just last year. It's given me more time to focus on writing, which is my true passion in life. I write every Saturday. For the last 4 years, I've written with a group called the Tumble Words Writers Project. We basically sit around a table for 2 hours, write, given cues, and then we write and we read what we've written. You can see my work on the Barbed Wire Mic series, which is a Facebook page that's produced live every Monday night from El Paso. And again, we're a group of writers, musicians, and other performers who do an open mic. I'm from a family of storytellers in Kentucky, so I love telling stories. The novel that I've written for a class project is called Expert Witness. It's about a man who encounters a woman who is a professional linguist who also passes herself off as an expert witness in the trials of men who have been accused of murder. He becomes suspicious of her motivations and also the so-called literary linguistic analysis that she does in court and presents in court, and he decides that he needs to be the one to expose her. So this chapter is at the end of the novel. It's in a court of law and he's testifying. I do also know Miss Gromsky personally. We met at a dinner of the Vegetarian Society in Colombia, and so we struck up a friendship and started doing things together. She was friendly and easy to talk to. But soon things started to change. We went to see a movie and she drove. As she drove through the maze of concrete structures and low-hanging ceilings in the different floors of the parking garage next to the mall where the movie was playing, Ms. Gromsky became extremely upset, hysterical even, screaming loudly, letting go of the steering wheel while the car veered back and forth, clawing at me from the driver's side, trying to get out of the car. I had never seen and heard anything like it. After what seemed like an hour, she finally calmed down, but she was seething with anger toward me. Rage, I would call it. She explained to me through clenched teeth that she suffered from severe panic attacks and was extremely claustrophobic. When I tried to console her, she coldly said that I had not done enough to help her during her panic attack, and that she was in no mood to see a movie with me. We left the parking garage with me driving her car, and she did not speak a single other word, even upon getting out of the car once we were at her place, silently watching me as I transferred to my car and drove off. A few days later, she called me, and in a completely different pleasant voice invited me to have dinner with her at her condo, as if nothing had happened. I accepted the invitation, seeing it as an opportunity to deconstruct and possibly understand what I knew to be off somehow. The dinner was good and peaceful, except when Miss Gromsey would mention members of her family or her work team at the university. She seemed to hate everyone, her 3 older sisters and her department head at work. Then she would start raising her voice louder and louder the longer she spoke. She was particularly upset about a beautiful 30-piece silver service she displayed proudly in her hutch. It seemed to be a symbol of her ongoing battle with her sisters, and at times her mother as well. She described how the silver service had been promised to her, but following her mother's death, it became known that her oldest sister, Sarah, had inherited the silver service. It had taken much effort on her part to convince the family that the silver service, by all rights, belonged to her. Obviously, she finally won the contest of wills, and the silver service was now hers. At dinner, she also described to me her very kinky sexual relationship with a man she no longer saw named Lenny DeMarco. They used to use knives in bed during their sexual encounters as a part of their gameplay. She said they fell out when Lenny had accused her of manipulation, and he had dropped totally out of sight after that. After dinner, moving to the couch for coffee, Miss Gromsky began to be seductive. I am a gay man, but at the time I was still new to coming out and still had unanswered questions about my sexuality. I let it happen. She took me to her bedroom, and we stripped and sat on the bed, kissing and stroking each other. Everything was fine until she noticed that I hadn't gotten at all aroused. She then stopped everything and asked me if I had ever slept with a man. I said I had once, last year. That man is now my husband. She was calm, but made the excuse that we did not have a condom in order to shut everything down. We got back into our clothes and parted as friends, or so I thought. The next morning, I had just gotten up and was making coffee when my phone rang. Carol was breathing heavily into the phone and finally said something. In an extremely distorted voice, she said, "Well, I guess you know who this is." "Well, hi, Carol. Thank you for a lovely evening last night," I replied. "You think so? Well, I'm just calling to tell you that you are a liar. You tried to give me AIDS, and I never want to see you again. Goodbye," she said as she clicked off her phone. I was in a state of shock. But from that day until this, I have tried to learn all I can about Carol Gromsky. And the more I learn about her, the more concerned I become about her so-called expert testimony in the trials of men, never women, accused of murder. I believe she has a vendetta against men in general, and her false testimony based on a flawed linguistic analysis method she devised is her way of wreaking revenge on all men. Another objection was sustained.
I will be reading an excerpt from my script of Silent Assistant. It will be in the middle of the script with a couple different characters. So we are in front of James Brown High School. Actually, we are inside the classroom of James Brown High School. So Ruth shuffles her papers, looks up, sees Jason. "Hey, Jason, come here, please." Jason starts to sweat, walks over. "Yes, ma'am." "Who told you to throw that airplane yesterday?" Jason looks around. "That wasn't me." "Wait, how do you know that?" "Don't worry about that. Answer the question." Miss Judah walks over behind Jason, hits him in the head. Jason looks around. "Dang, who did that?" Ruth chuckles. "You all right?" Jason holds his head. Yeah. Now who told you to throw it? I can't tell you that. I don't want to be labeled a snitch. Ruth crosses her arms. Are you in a gang? Jason smirks. No, nothing like that. Gabriel comes in the door. Ruth looks up. Jason turns around. What are you doing here? We need to talk. Ruth looks at Jason, then Gabriel, then back at Jason. Man, you two could be twins. Jason looks at Gabriel. Who are you? Miss Bell's friend. Who are you? Jason runs past Gabriel. Oh, no one. Bye, Miss Bell. Wait, come back here. Miss Judah smiles at Gabriel. Oh, he is a nice snack. Why are you mad at this nice specimen? Miss Ruth cuts her eyes at Miss Judah. Shut up. I didn't say anything. Ruth walks to the door, looks for Jason. Jason looks just like your dad. Do you have any siblings I don't know about? Gabriel looks confused. Not that I know of. Wait, I really need to talk to you. Gabriel grabs Ruth's arm. I don't have time for this. We can talk after school. I need to get my classroom together. Gabriel releases Ruth's arm. Fine. I will wait till after work. Please don't ignore me. I won't be opposed to coming up every day. Ruth looks into Gabriel's eyes. Do what you have to, but I have work to do. Miss Judah stands on the side. My goodness, do you even like him? Gabriel walks out of the room, looks for Jason. Mrs. Judah, again, this is not your lane. Let's get this class together today. Now we're in the hallway of the high school. Gabriel sees Jason. Hey kid, remember me? Jason looks up. Duh, you were just in Miss Bell's class. Gabriel chuckles. Yeah. Can I ask you a question? Jason looks confused. Please don't ask me anything about Miss Bell. I don't know that lady. No, not about her, about you. That's strange. What do you want to know about me? Well, you kind of look like my dad. And I just wondered if you know who your dad is. What kind of question is that? Yeah, I know my dad. What's his name? Philip Perez? Why? Gabriel's eyes get big. Philip Perez? Gabriel's eyes water. He runs back to Ruth's class. What just happened? Now we're back into the classroom. Ruth looks up. Didn't I tell you we can talk later? Gabriel grabs Ruth. Jason's dad is Philip Perez. Mrs. Judah walks over to Ruth. Oh, wow. He has the same name as your dad. Mrs. Judah places her hand over her face, shakes her head. How are you a teacher? Ruth looks at Miss Judah. Oh, wait. He has the same name as your father. Ruth's eyes swell. Gabriel, he has the same name as your father. Gabriel's eyes fill up with tears. I need to talk to my dad to see what is going on. Now it makes sense. What makes sense? That you would taste someone else's pudding. What? It's in your blood. Mrs. Judah's eyes widen. Now I understand why you're mad.
So I am going to go ahead and read this to you. This is part of the opening scene, so hopefully you're hooked and you want to know more, and then you can write me a check and I'll tell you everything you want to know. Fade in. Oh, by the way, the name of my script is Holy Lipstick. My name is Javier Simons. You can call me Javi. And God, I'm scared. Okay, here we go. Fade in. Exterior. Beach. Havana, Cuba. Day. Scene opens with a couple embracing each other on a beach in Havana. Pamela, a beautiful young woman, 18, and Marcos, beautiful young man, 21, exchange one final moment. Pamela. Marcos, por favor, cuídame al niño que no le pasa nada al John. Marcos. Pamela, mi amada, este sacrificio no será en vano. Estaremos juntos prontos. Eres mi todo. Pamela, y tú el mío, Marcos. Te amo. They embrace in a kiss. This scene is very telenovela. Pamela hops on the canoe over capacity with other Cubans. Pamela screams across the beach from the boat. Pamela. Mi Cuba bella, te llevo conmigo. Me voy buscando la libertad que no me diste. She takes a seat on the canoe and mumbles to herself as the boat departs. Para ser en realidad quien soy. Jump cut to interior, Jonas' bedroom, night. Jonas is in his bedroom. The TV is playing a show and he is in bed, and we see his shorts on the ground and him holding his phone, shaking sensually. Female moans come from his phone. His eyes are closed shut as he tries to focus. He opens them, somewhat frustrated, and begins to scroll through his phone again. A few clicks later, we hear two male moans coming from the phone. We hear his father in the background. Jonas' father. Jonas, come down and help me change his tire. Jonas. Okay, Dad, I'm almost done. I'm coming. Jonas' father. Can you please come faster? Jonas. Yes, I'm almost done. Jonas moans and muffles his climax as he finishes. You can hear what is clearly two men porn coming from his phone. He lays there, spent. Jonas. My dudes never fail me. Then raises his voice. Okay, Dad, all good. I'm coming down. Jump cut to interior, Alexis' apartment complex, day. We see Alexis with a group of mixed friends, drinking beers, passing a joint around, and jamming out to music. She gets up to use the restroom. It is locked. Alexis. Can y'all hurry the fuck up? I bitch gotta pee. She laughs a bit, but knocks harder. Two men come out. Alexis looks really upset. Alexis. This is what my life has come to? Be a safe space for the gays? She goes into the restroom and slams the door. You hear her scream soon after. Alexis. Really, dude? You'll use the last of the toilet paper? Disgusting. Fade out. Fade in. Exterior. Main Street. Sidewalk. Day. The street is packed with people walking. Everyone is wearing basic work clothes. Carlos stands at 6'2", age 24, and colorful. He stands out from the crowd. Carlos walks into the bakery to his right, opens the door but allows a woman and a child to go in before him. Papo the baker, mid-40s, male, greets the young man. Papo. Hey buddy, I was beginning to worry. You're running late, huh? Carlos. Late is better than never. Do you have those fabulous sausage and cheese kolaches? Papo the baker. You bet I do. Papo pulls out a tray of freshly baked kolaches from the oven. Carlos. Oh yes, bitch. You get me right together. Give me 3. I need to feed Ursula. Carlos air quotes as he mentions Ursula. Baker looks perplexed, hands him the bag, and catches him out. Carlos turns around and bumps into Jonas, 31, dropping his phone. Jonas. Jesus, Carlos. They're both squatting on the floor trying to grab the same item. Jonas' phone, which Carlos calls him to drop. Carlos. What are you doing here? Did you lock my door? Jonas. Don't mind my phone. See, might survive the fall. Carlos. Bye, Jonas. TTYL. Carlos gets up and starts to walk away. Jonas talks to himself. Jonas. Glad your phone is okay, Jonas. You were fabulous last night, Jonas. It really be like dating two people. Outside the bakery stands Alexis, 5'2", 21, charismatic. Carlos hands her one kolache. Alexis. Girl. Carlos. What, B? Alexis. You are glowing today. Did you get? Carlos. No, girl. My squeeze only talks when I'm in drag. So to answer your... Alexis. OMG. She was a power top. OMG. She was a power top. Ew. Carlos. Ew. You make it sound so... Alexis. Whatever you did, your skin is glowing. Flawless. Carlos. Girl, keep them coming. I'm not feeling my oats today. And I'm late. Alexis. You? Not feeling tus avenas? Alexis starts to laugh and tickles Carlos. Alexis continued. You're gonna be late to your own funeral. They both snap their fingers in a circle and go, hey, as they walk down the beauty supply shop. Carlos. And where the fuck are you coming from? Alexis. I got off work hella late, went over to Jonas to smoke some and try to get some. Alexis takes a bite of her kolache and continues to talk with her mouth full. Carlos is very uncomfortable. Alexis continued. There's something wrong with him. He won't flutter my cookie. Carlos, maybe you need to bake it a bit more. Alexis, he got a random text at 2 a.m. and bolted. Like, damn boy, where are you pulling up to? Carlos dismisses the comment. Carlos, okay girl, I gotta run. See you tonight, 6 p.m. sharp. Do not be late. Alexis, bet. Cut. So, that's it. Hope you like it. And if you need to find me on Instagram and Twitter at bitchamjavi and on Facebook, Javier Javi. Thank you.
So I'm going to do a little bit of a read from things that I write on. Someone once told me that I wouldn't amount to anything in my life and that I would be penniless and live a life of poverty and heartache. I told them, you have no idea who I am. And then I later understood that a lost person can never give useful directions. It was a sad situation because unfortunately the person who had said these things was assigned to be a caretaker, a nurturer, which is the case for many of us. But I'm here striving, I'm thriving, self-sufficient, self-loved, and self-believing. No one has any authority over our lives unless we choose to give it to them. Let this be a message, a reminder to those who need it. You are the only person in charge of this experience. You always have been, and you always will be.
Alright, so hi everyone. My name is Caitlin Lynch. I don't know what to say. I am an actor, a writer, obviously. I also own my own non-profit community theater company called Door 14 Productions. And I work for KMP Entertainment, so thank you to KMP for hosting this awesome showcase. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. That's, I'll leave it at that, I guess. I actually have always, I've always been a writer, like literally my entire life. When I was in kindergarten, at my elementary school, you know, we had this like writing competition every year that all the kids could submit to, and it was statewide. It was called Young Authors, and I was the first kindergartner in the school's history to submit to the competition, and I submitted three picture books that I wrote and illustrated myself. And whenever I tell people that, they're always like, oh, did it place in the competition? Like, no, it didn't place. I was like 5. But I've always wanted to be a writer. I've just started writing professionally about 6 months ago, though. 6 months. Technically, the pitch, that version of it is finished. You know, I have to expand upon it and make the pitch itself a little bit longer because the submission call that I wrote it for wanted only 3 pages maximum. You know, obviously the TV series itself has to be produced, so in that sense, it's not a finished work. So, you know, if you liked it and you're interested in producing it, hit me up. You can keep up with everything that I'm doing through my website. I have links to all of my other social media pages and everything, and it's super simple. It is literally just caitlinlynch.com. So yeah, I have links to like my Twitter page, how you can hire me freelance, or, you know, get in contact with me professionally. Like my email address is up on there, my LinkedIn page is on there, and then I have 3 fiction short stories that are being published soon, that have all been accepted for publication within the last 6 months. And so as soon as those go up for sale, all of them so far are going to be on Amazon. So I'm going to figure out how to incorporate like a shop into my website so that you can buy those as well. So they're all horror so far, so you'll be able to read them in The Weird and Whatnot and Ghostlight, the Magazine of Terror, as well as Harvest 2 anthology published by Bloodsong Books and compiled by Zoe Zoltan. So thank you so much for watching, not just me, but everyone in this showcase. Genuinely thank you to everyone participating in any form. And please, if you enjoyed listening to my show pitch, please vote for me. So it's hashtag Caitlin Lynch and how to spell my first name, because there are so many different ways to spell Caitlin. It is Kaittlyn. So thank you so much.
All right, thank you to anybody who might be watching this. We are going to be doing a table reading of Violent Ends, Hamlet, Thus Bad Begins, the pilot episode written by me, Caitlin Lynch, based on the play by William Shakespeare. A black screen, ambient dripping.
I didn't ask for this.
A beat, then the dripping ceases, gives way to interior Elsinore Castle, sitting room, day, Denmark, present day. We see the kind eyes of the king first. King Hamlet, late 50s, looks weathered, tired but recognizably regal, the beloved face of a nation. The wrinkles around his eyes are more from laughter than age. Behind him, a lavish, plush, and formal sitting room, exquisitely decorated, the type of interior design which feels rich, but obviously outdated.
No, of course not.
He scratches at some stubble growing in on his jaw. This is Duke Claudius, early 50s, the king's younger brother, his shadow. They look almost identical, save that for every softness about King Hamlet, Claudius has only sharp lines and tense muscles. Claudius leans forward, elbows onto his knees. His suit is already rumpled just enough to be noticeable. This motion brings out the creases, the inequality between the two brothers.
But you've got it all anyway.
He gestures widely at the rest of the room. Guards stand alert at every door. Among them are Marcellus, 30s, muscular, avuncular, Hamlet's personal bodyguard. Bernardo, 30s to 40s, stoic, menacing, the king's personal bodyguard, and Therese Francisco, 30s to 40s, plain, stern, almost matronly, Gertrude's personal bodyguard. Seated on another couch further away are a trio of young adults, huddled around a single smartphone, giggling and engrossed in their own vapid conversation, a tangle of barefooted limbs in stark contrast to the ceremonial stiffness of the rest of the room.
Now, if you enjoyed that twist on a classic, you will absolutely want to hear Caitlin's whole story. So right here, same platform you're on now, we're going to do another watch party and show that clip in its entirety. Okay, so like the page, keep up with this and other online events you may enjoy. And so that's going to be Thanksgiving weekend. And again, we will post the details on the page, but Thanksgiving weekend will be your opportunity to hear all of Caitlin's story. So I do want to thank you so very much for tuning in to support these fabulous writers. And if you haven't voted yet, go ahead and put your votes in the comments. And if you have voted, go ahead and vote one more time, even if you already did it 3 times. Show them some love and let them know how fabulous they are. Have a great night, everyone.
Hey everybody, Jerry Carnes El Malcriado here, cordially inviting you to my live streaming performance here on the Stage It platform. It's a one-time event only. It will not be recorded. It's November 27th, 7:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And guess what? It's only $10 per household. That's right. And that means that with the right device, you can watch it on the big screen TV with the entire family. That's right, the entire family, because the set is going to be family friendly. It's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be funny. Check it out. Click on the link below in the captions so you can get your ticket too. Cheers, and after Thanksgiving, hey, let this turkey make you laugh. Oh.